One of the most powerful powers in human history was the Roman Empire, which was maintained not only by the legions but also by mercenaries. All around the world, hired fighters known as mercenaries engaged in combat for profit. They had a life unmatched by anybody else, and were an important part of Roman military campaigns. We shall explore a Roman mercenary's life in this video, from recruiting to retirement. Despite the Roman army's size, more soldiers were continually needed. From as far away as Germany, Spain, and even North Africa, mercenaries were sought after. Recruiters were frequently former soldiers who had left the army and were now employed by the military as contractors. They would travel from town to town and village to village in search of fit men who would engage in combat in exchange for payment. Men who were physically fit, robust, and experienced with weapons were sought for by the recruiters. They would request that they demonstrate their proficiency with a bow, a spear, or a sword. They would be awarded a contract and a uniform if they passed the test. The contract would outline the hours worked, compensation, and other terms of employment. The mercenary's life. A Roman mercenary's life was difficult. They were frequently placed in positions of conflict where they had to engage hostile forces. They had to put up with difficult circumstances such as protracted marches, a shortage of food and water, and weather exposure. They had to maintain discipline and obey commands, and they had to be prepared to fight at a moment's notice. Notwithstanding the challenges, there were advantages to becoming a mercenary. They received good pay, and they were eligible for performance-based bonuses. Also, they had the chance to plunder enemy camps and steal booty. Many mercenaries saw this as a big inducement because it allowed them to make more money in one campaign than they would through farming or trade in a year. Mercenaries were also permitted to keep their booty as long as they gave their commander a share of it. This was a big benefit since it helped them become richer and more powerful. Some mercenaries amassed such fortune that they could retire early and enjoy a comfortable retirement for the rest of their life. In the Roman Empire, mercenaries had a distinct way of life that changed, depending on whether they were still actively engaged in the military or had left the service. Let's examine the lifestyle of a mercenary in the Roman Empire, both when serving in the army and off-duty. When they were in the military, a mercenary who contracted with the Roman Empire would be put into a cohort or legion, where they would get training and get ready for battle. They would reside in military camps alongside other soldiers, frequently in tents or dormitories. To defend the empire from invasions by the enemy, these camps were placed strategically close to the front lines or in recently won territory. A mercenary's routine was structured and disciplined. They would get up early, train, drill, and learn new battle tactics and strategies during the course of the day. In addition, they would be in charge of maintaining their tools, which included cleaning their weapons, mending their armor, and sharpening their swords. Roman mercenaries had a regimented diet that mainly consisted of grains, vegetables, and rare meat. The soldiers would gather in the mess hall to eat together, as the food was typically prepared in large communal pots. If there is no conflict, a mercenary had more freedom to pursue their interests when they were not actively participating in a war. While some chose to stay in the military camps and earn extra money by doing odd jobs like guarding the perimeter or helping with upkeep, others chose to travel or return to their hometowns. Roman mercenaries had the means to enjoy their free time because they were paid highly for their efforts. They frequently engaged in various sorts of recreation, such as drinking, gambling, and drinking. To stay in shape and have fun, they would also take part in sports activities like jogging, wrestling, or boxing. Retirement life. A Roman mercenary's transition from active duty to retirement required considerable lifestyle changes because they had spent years in the military. As a result of their years of service, many retired mercenaries had amassed fortunes, and many would utilize their savings to buy property or launch a business. Others went on to become traders, artisans, or merchants, while some became farmers. Former mercenaries frequently established close-knit groups where they could interact and share stories from their time in the military. In order to pass on their expertise and experience to the upcoming army, they would also offer their services as mentors or trainers to fresh recruits. Compared to while they were actively serving in the army, former mercenaries had greater flexibility and downtime. They would go to social events, take part in community activities, or spend time with their family. Some would carry on practicing or competing in sports, while others would develop other interests or hobbies. Let's take a closer look at a Roman mercenary's daily activities. Equipment and training. A Roman mercenary's training was an essential component of their lives, and they would spend many hours every day honing their abilities. They would be taught how to use a range of weapons, such as swords, spears, javelins, and bows, as well as hand-to-hand fighting techniques. The maintenance of mercenaries' equipment was their responsibility in addition to training. They would polish their armor, sharpen their swords and spears, and fix any flaws in their equipment, to make sure they were always prepared for battle and could protect themselves and their allies. This was crucial. Income and perks. The money and bonuses were among the principal rewards of serving as a Roman mercenary. Mercenaries were handsomely compensated, and if they excelled in battle, they may earn even more. In addition, they received housing, food, and clothing while serving in the army. Because injuries occurred frequently in combat, it was crucial that mercenaries had access to medical care. Army doctors would treat them, and they would be given time to recover before going back to the front lines. Personal life. A Roman mercenary's social life was rewarding and challenging. On the one hand, as they trained and fought together, they would develop strong bonds with their fellow soldiers. They would frequently eat together and share living space, which cultivated a sense of camaraderie. The life of a mercenary, on the other hand, could be isolating, particularly for those who were separated from their families and loved ones. To some extent, the isolation was lessened by the relationships they could build with local residents while stationed there. Challenges. Roman mercenary life wasn't without its difficulties. They were frequently sent away from their homes and families to hostile and perilous places. Additionally, because battles are vicious and unforgiving, they would constantly be in danger of getting hurt or killed. Mercenaries would have to cope with the psychological and physical effects of war. They would witness the deaths of both allies and foes in battle, which could be upsetting and emotionally draining. As a result of their combat experiences, many soldiers develop PTSD or other mental health problems. Retirement. A Roman mercenary's retirement was not always simple. Many of them had no other skills because they had fought in wars their entire adult lives. They frequently had to rely on their savings or military pensions to get by. While some went into farming or trade, many found it difficult to integrate into society. Some ex-mercenaries started their own businesses and worked as military contractors. They would employ additional mercenaries and work for the highest bidder. This was a lucrative business, but it was also risky because they might get tangled up in disputes between opposing factions. Some ex-mercenaries turned to farming, cultivating crops and raising livestock on their land. Others became traders who imported and exported goods using their understanding of various cultures and languages. Some went on to become artisans, employing their talents to produce things like pottery, armor, and weapons. To sum up, being a Roman mercenary was both difficult and rewarding. They would spend their days in the army training and getting ready for battle, but they also had the chance to develop strong relationships with their comrades. Although they received a good salary and had access to food, clothing, and housing, they were also constantly in danger of getting hurt or killed. They had to acclimate to civilian life after retirement, but many were able to use their experience and savings to launch new careers and create new lives for themselves. Although there were difficulties in living as a Roman mercenary, it was a fascinating and adventurous way of life that changed the course of history. In the comment section, share your opinions on the video. To see more videos, subscribe. Thank you for watching.